Stop my freeloading roommate from using my laundry card. I intentionally left it with a zero balance. The next day she slammed a receipt onto my desk with total entitlement. Lydia, why didn't you refill your laundry card? I had to stop my wash mid-cycle because of you. I put $10 on it for you. Since we're roommates, I won't charge you a convenience fee for the trip to the kiosk. How are you going to pay me back? Venmo or Cash App? I almost laughed in her face. A single load of laundry cost $5. And she had been leeching off my card for 2 months. She had used it at least 30 times. I hadn't even asked her for the $150 she owed me, yet. And here she was hounding me for $10. I looked her in the eye. Fine. I'll give you the $10. But first pay me back the $150 for the loads you've already done. She didn't say a word. Instead she turned around and went straight to the dean of students. Dean pulled me aside, giving me a long-winded speech about how she was the school's inspirational representative. He told me to just suck it up. He warned me that if this turned into a scandal, it would look bad for the university and could even affect my graduation. My roommate became even more arrogant after that. She started spouting nonsense in the dorm. Lydia has so much money. Why shouldn't she spend some on me? I grew up in the middle of nowhere, but the school values me. If she's really that upset, let her make a scene. At the end of the day, she's the one who won't graduate, not me. I let out a cold laugh. Did they really think I was too afraid to blow this up? Well, I was going to give them a show they'd never forget. Nadine's eyes well up with tears. She shot a quick glance at our other roommates before lowering her head. Voice sounded like she was on the verge of a breakdown. Lydia, it was so windy this afternoon. I ran all the way to the student center with wet hair, just to refill your card. If you don't want to be grateful, fine. But how can you be so petty about money? Petty? Is that what we're calling it now? Asking for what's rightfully mine. The other girls in the room turned their chairs around to watch the drama alone. Asked what's going on? It's nothing. I just put $10 on Lydia's laundry card, and now she refuses to pay me back. Nadine sniffled, pausing for effect. I'm not even saying she has to pay. It's just that $10 is what I spend on food for a whole day. Sloan nodded and looked at me. Was your card really empty? I leaned back in my chair, my voice flat because Nadine used it all. Nadine pouted as if she were the victim. What do you mean I used it? Don't you use it too? Besides, I've used it so many times before, and you never said anything. I stared her down. That's because every single time you said, I'll pay you back next time. But you never did. The first time Nadine leeched off me was during the second week of the semester. I had just finished my laundry when she happened to walk in. Lydia, my card is empty. Can I borrow yours? I'll refill mine tomorrow and Venmo you. I said sure and handed it over the next day. She didn't mention it. I didn't bring it up either. Then came the third time, the fourth, fifth. Her can I borrow it? Turned into just let me scan yours. I'll get you later. But later never came. One time I came back from class, and she just held her hand out while sitting on her bed. Give me the card. I need to do laundry. I asked if she had sent me the money yet. She froze for a second, then laughed. Don't you still have plenty of credits on there? It's not like it's hard cash. Why are you being so calculated? Calculated? It wasn't just a laundry card either. Nadine would always ask me to grab her something whenever I was printing files or ordering Starbucks. Each time it was only $2 or $3 or maybe 10. And every single time it was, I'll pay you back later. Again. She never did. I knew she came from a poor, rural background and had 3 younger siblings to help support. She was on a tight budget, so I hadn't made a big deal out of it. But now she was calling me petty. Since that conversation, I had stopped refilling the card. I figured she would realize what was happening once she saw the zero balance. Who knew? She would refill it herself and then come to me for a reimbursement. Seeing my silence, Nadine's victim act started to crumble. Lydia, I only used your card a few times. Don't you think you're being a bit much? You think this is a bit much? I picked up my phone, turned the screen toward her, and started scrolling. I've used my card 32 times in the last 2 months. At $5 a load. That's $160. I've bought you lunch 12 times. I've paid for your printing 7 times. I've bought you 9 lattes. All those little things add up to $300. I locked my phone and looked her straight in the eye. That's $460 total. Subtract the $10 you just spent, and you owe me $450. Venmo or Cash App. The dorm went silent for 2 seconds. Tears started pooling in Nadine's eyes again. Lydia, you know my family is struggling. Yet you're being so aggressive. I get it. You just think I'm poor. You look down on me. Since she had escalated it to a class issue, Sloan immediately tried to play peacemaker. Come on, Lydia. We're all roommates. Let's just let the money go. I looked at her. Let it go. If you think it's so little, why don't you pay me back for her? Sloan blinked, then rolled her eyes and turned back to her desk. Why would I pay for her? I'm not her mother. With red eyes, Nadine crumpled the receipt into a ball and threw it into the trash. Enough, Lydia. I actually thought you were a good person. Turns out you're just like every other shallow, rich girl. Fine. Keep your $10. I don't even want it. She stormed out, slamming the door. However, after my gym class the next day, I got a text from the dean of students. He wanted to see me in his office. When I walked in, Dean Miller was leaning back in his chair, looking at me with a strange expression. Did you have a conflict with Nadine in the dorms? Before I could even respond, he kept talking. Lydia, you're the class president. You need to lead by example. Support your classmates, foster unity. I shouldn't have to teach you this. I stood there knowing exactly what had happened. Nadine had filed a complaint. I played dumb, sir. I'm not sure what you mean. Are you referring to the fact that I asked Nadine to pay back the money she borrowed? The dean took a sip of water. Nadine is a scholarship student. She is our school's inspirational representative. Your family is well off. You don't need this money. You should be helping her. Don't be so petty about the small stuff. There was that word again, petty. I took a deep breath. Sir, my family has money because my parents worked hard for it. Why am I obligated to give it to her? She used up the balance on my card without asking. Then she refilled it and demanded I pay her back for it. Don't you think that's ridiculous? The dean's face darkened. Lydia, I thought you were a sensible girl. Next Monday, city officials are visiting the campus. A dean has been chosen to welcome them. If her mental state is affected by this, and it ruins the school's reputation, well, your graduation could become a very difficult process. I froze. Graduation. He was using my future to threaten me. The dean saw my silence and likely thought he had intimidated me. His tone softened and he patted my shoulder. Lydia, you know I've always valued you. I've scheduled you to host the welcoming ceremony on Monday. Write a good script. You and Nadine will be the pride of this university together. Pride. If this university was this blind and unjust, it only made me sick. I walked back to the dorm and pushed the door open. Nadine was just coming out of the bathroom. Her hair was wet and in her hand was my laundry card. She didn't look even remotely guilty about being caught. She tossed the card onto my desk with a casual shrug. It's out of money again. Remember to refill it. I stared at her 1 second. 2 seconds. Then I smiled. Nadine frowned. What are you smiling at? She paused as if it just clicked. Oh, I get it. The dean talked to you, didn't he? Fine. You don't even have to apologize. I forgive you for yesterday. I leaned against my desk watching her. You forgive me? Yeah, he said with total confidence. We're roommates after all. I'm not small-minded like you. With that, she reached out to grab my hairdryer from the top of my locker. I moved faster and grabbed it first. Lydia, what are you doing? I ignored her. I pulled out my key and locked both the laundry card and the hairdryer inside my cabinet. Nadine, I'm fresh out of charity. If you touch my stuff without permission again, I'm calling the police and reporting you for theft. A dean's face stiffened. She clearly hadn't expected me to fight back. After the dean's warning, I put on my noise-canceling headphones and blocked them out. I didn't have classes that afternoon, so I napped until 3. When I woke up and checked my phone, a notification popped up. My membership card at the nail salon had been used for a $360 charge. At 2:51 p.m., I stared at the message for 3 seconds while my brain processed it. I don't have many hobbies. I love getting my nails done. There's a great salon near the south gate of campus. I had preloaded $3,000 onto a VIP card there, but I hadn't gone today. So who did? I called the salon immediately. The clerk stuttered for a while before admitting someone had used my VIP card. They apologized for not verifying the identity and offered me a discount on my next visit. I hung up, already guessing who it was. A dean walked into the dorm with 2 of her friends, laughing loudly. She probably thought I wasn't there. She stood in the middle of the room, holding out her hands to show off a fresh, sparkling set of ombre nails. What do you think of this gradient? I picked this color specifically. It's going to look so elegant when I meet the mayor on Monday. One of her friends leaned in, her voice dripping with flattery. Wow, Nadine. These are stunning. They must have cost a fortune. Nadine admired her hands, her lips curling into a smug grin. $360. Not too bad. The other friend lowered her voice. Nadine, what if Lydia finds out you used her card for this? Won't she be pissed? Nadine let out an arrogant laugh. Her family is loaded. What's a few $100 to her? Besides, she doesn't dare get mad. The school loves me. If she tries to cross me, she's the one who'll be punished. Is that so? My voice cut through the air, and the 3 of them froze. Pulled back my bed curtains and showed them my phone screen. I was already hovering over the call button for 911. Nadine, I warned you if you touch my things without permission again, I would call the police. Nadine's two friends panicked, shoving each other as they scrambled out of the room. Nadine, however, kept her cool. She gave me a dismissive smirk. Lydia, it's just $300. Is it really that serious? I opened my Venmo QR code and shoved the phone in her face. If it's not a big deal, then pay me back right now. Nadine ignored the phone. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and puffed out her chest. Lydia, get this through your head. I got these nails to represent the school, in front of the city officials. I did it for the university's image. You're rich anyway. Consider it your contribution to the school. If you behave, maybe I'll say something nice about you to the dean. She kept throwing my wealth in my face like it was a crime. And she pointedly mentioned the dean to scare me. She thought I was afraid. She thought I would fold. I moved the phone even closer. Pay me $360. Nadine's smile finally cracked. Her voice went up an octave. Lydia, did you forget your meeting with the dean? I am a scholarship student. I didn't waste another breath. I tapped the call button. Ring ring. Adine's eyes widened in horror. She lunged at me, snatched my phone and hung up the call. Lydia, are you insane? Her voice was high and screeching. Then the waterworks started again. She sobbed while dialing the dean's number. Sir, please come quickly. Lydia is trying to have me arrested. I couldn't hear the dean's response. Nadine held the phone away from her ear and turned on the speaker. The dean's voice came through sharp and furious. Lydia, can you stop causing me trouble for 1 second? I told you not to mess with Nadine. If this happens again, forget about being class president. Forget about graduating. He hung up. Nadine wiped her tears and looked at me, a slow smirk spreading across her face. See, the school values me. If you want that degree, you better start being helpful. She turned to the mirror, fixed her hair and started walking out. Oh, and refill that laundry card soon. I don't want to have to keep reminding you. The door shut. I stood there, slowly tightening my grip on the digital voice recorder I had hidden under my pillow. It had been recording the whole time. They thought I wouldn't make a scene. Fine. I'll give them a scene so big the whole city will see it. Monday morning arrived. It was the day of the city officials' visit. The university had gone all out. Red carpets, balloons and a live stream for the local news. Nadine followed Nadine around like a shadow, ready to tell the officials all about her. He wanted everyone to know how the school supported this inspirational representative, how hardworking and diligent she was. In the crowd, everyone was wearing a fake practice smile. We reached the grand hall and the officials took their seats. The cameras for the live stream were all rolling. I clutched my recorder and walked onto the stage. I saw Nadine's smug look and the dean's I won expression. From the front row, everyone's eyes were on me. I looked up, held up the recorder and smiled. The microphone picked up the quiet click of the play button. I brought the small, black device directly to the mic. For a split second, the auditorium was dead silent, save for the hum of the air conditioning. Then Nadine's screeching voice echoed through the state-of-the-art surround sound system of the grand hall. Lydia, are you insane? The sound of fake, dramatic sobbing filled the room, followed by the dialing of a phone. Sir, please come quickly. Lydia is trying to have me arrested. In the front row, Dean Miller's face went entirely slack. The color drained from his cheeks so fast he looked like a corpse. He half stood from his velvet-lined chair, his mouth opening and closing like a suffocating fish. Next to him, the mayor and the visiting city council members frowned, exchanging confused glances. But the tape kept playing, and it was loud. Lydia, can you stop causing me trouble for 1 second? Dean Miller's recorded voice boomed across the auditorium. It was unmistakably him, sharp, furious, and dripping with bureaucratic disdain. I told you not to mess with Nadine. If this happens again, forget about being class president. Forget about graduating. A collective gasp swept through the hundreds of students seated behind the VIP section. Phones were already out. The red light of the local news cameras, stationed at the back of the room to broadcast the school's inspirational PR stunt, remained steady. They were live. Then came Nadine's voice, devoid of her usual tears, replaced by a sneering, arrogant drawl. See, the school values me. If you want that degree, you better start being helpful. Oh, and refill that laundry card soon. I don't want to have to keep reminding you. I clicked the recorder off. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating, and absolute. I lowered the device and leaned into the podium microphone. My voice was completely steady. Good morning, Mayor Jenkins, distinguished city officials, faculty, and students, I said, looking directly into the camera at the back of the room. My name is Lydia Vance. I am the class president of this university. I was scheduled to give a speech today about unity, integrity, and the inspirational support system this school provides to its students. I shifted my gaze down to Dean Miller, who was now trembling visibly. Nadine, seated 3 rows back in the honors section, looked as if she had been struck by lightning. She was frozen, her hands, flaunting the $360 gradient nails she had stolen from me, clutched tight to her chest. However, I continued, I cannot stand up here and lie to the city. The inspirational representative you are here to meet, Nadine Thorne, has spent the last 2 months extorting me, stealing from me, and committing credit fraud by using my private salon VIP account without authorization. When I attempted to call the police to report the theft, Dean Miller threatened to sabotage my academic record and block my graduation to protect the university's public relations. Cut the feed. Dean Miller suddenly shrieked, his voice cracking. He spun around to the AV booth in the balcony. Turn off the cameras. Security, get her off the stage. The AV technicians, a couple of underpaid sophomores, just stared at him. They didn't touch a single dial. The mayor stood up. He was a tall, imposing man who had built his political career on anti-corruption platforms. He did not look amused. Dean Miller, the mayor said, his voice carrying without the need for a microphone. Sit down. Mr. Mayor, this is a misunderstanding, a childish dispute between roommates. I said sit down, the mayor repeated, his tone dropping to a dangerous register. He looked up at me. Ms. Vance, are you stating that an administrator at this university threatened your degree to cover up a crime? Yes, sir, I replied. I reached into the podium shelf and pulled out a thick, meticulously organized manila folder. I have printed copies of my Venmo history, the receipts of the stolen funds, the timestamped charge of $360 from the salon using my prepaid card, and a sworn statement from the salon clerk, identifying Nadine Thorne. I also have the original digital file of this recording, timestamped to yesterday afternoon. I stepped out from behind the podium and walked down the short flight of stage stairs. 2 campus security guards had started jogging down the aisle, but the mayor raised a hand, stopping them dead in their tracks. I walked right up to the front row and handed the folder to the mayor's chief of staff. Nadine finally snapped out of her paralysis. She burst out of her seat and scrambled down the aisle, tears streaming down her face. The victim act was back, dialed up to 1,000. She's lying. Nadine sobbed, her voice echoing in the massive hall. She's a rich, spoiled brat. She's framing me because I'm poor. Mayor, you have to believe me, I grew up with nothing. Save it. I cut her off. I didn't yell. I didn't need to. I just looked at her hands. Are those the nails you bought with my money, Nadine? The ones you said would look so elegant when you met the mayor? All eyes dropped to her hands. The sparkling gradient nails caught the heavy stage lighting. Nadine quickly shoved her hands behind her back, but it was too late. The optics were utterly damning. A so-called destitute student dripping in expensive salon acrylics, while the girl she accused of being a spoiled brat stood before the crowd in a simple, tailored blazer. Dean Miller was sweating through his suit. Lydia, this is a severe violation of university protocol. You are making a spectacle. No, Dean Miller. A new voice cut through the chaos. From the side entrance, University President Sterling walked in. He had been scheduled to arrive 30 minutes late due to a donor meeting, but clearly, someone had texted him about the live stream. He looked livid. The only spectacle here is the one you have created, President Sterling said, marching down the aisle. He looked at the mayor. My deepest apologies, Mayor Jenkins. This will be handled immediately. He turned his glare onto Miller. My office. Now, both of you. He pointed a stiff finger at Nadine and the dean. Nadine was hyperventilating now. President Sterling, I'm the inspirational representative. I'm supposed to give a speech. The only place you are going is to a disciplinary hearing, Sterling snapped. As the dean and a sobbing Nadine were escorted out of the auditorium by security, the room erupted into whispers, gasps, and frantic texting. Sloan, my other roommate, was sitting in the 5th row. I met her eyes. She looked absolutely terrified, shrinking down in her seat. I calmly walked back up the stairs, retrieved my voice recorder, and stepped away from the podium. I didn't stick around to watch the rest of the ceremony fall apart. I had a police report to file. By 2 p.m., my phone was practically melting from the notification overload. The clip of the assembly had hit TikTok and X, formerly Twitter. The hashtags, #LaundryCardLydia and #CorruptDean were trending locally. I was sitting in the local police precinct, sipping a lukewarm coffee. Across from me was Officer Hayes, a pragmatic woman who was currently scrolling through the manila folder I had provided. So, Officer Hayes said, tapping her pen against the desk. She used your laundry card, printed files, and bought coffee on your dime. That's petty theft. mostly handled in civil claims or university housing. But the nail salon. She pulled out the receipt. $360 charged to a VIP account she had no authorization to access. In this state, credit fraud over $300 is a Class A misdemeanor, bordering on felony identity theft depending on how the DA wants to pursue it. I want to press full charges, I said evenly. No mediation. No university-led restorative justice. I want her arrested for the salon charge. Officer Hayes looked up at me. She didn't see an angry, emotional college student. She saw someone who had brought airtight evidence on a silver platter. Understood. I'll go get the warrant signed. Since we know where she resides, we can pick her up this afternoon. When I walked back to my dorm room later that day, the atmosphere on my floor was completely different. Girls who normally ignored me or treated me as just the quiet rich girl were peeking out of their doors, whispering excitedly. I pushed open the door to my room. Nadine was frantically throwing clothes into a duffel bag. Her side of the room was a disaster zone. Sloane was sitting on her bed, clutching her phone, looking pale. When the door clicked shut behind me, Nadine froze. She slowly turned around. Her eyes were bloodshot, her face puffy from hours of crying. But beneath the tears, there was a feral, cornered animal look in her eyes. Are you happy? Nadine spat, her voice raspy. Are you happy now, Lydia? You ruined my life. Over $300. You have thousands in your bank account, and you destroyed my future over pocket change. I walked over to my desk, set my bag down, and leaned against the wood, crossing my arms. I didn't destroy your future, Nadine. Your entitlement did, I said. You didn't just take my money. You tried to use the administration to hold my degree hostage. You thought my wealth meant I had to be your personal ATM, and when I finally said no, you tried to break me. I have 3 siblings, she screamed, taking a step toward me. My parents make minimum wage. You don't know what it's like to have nothing. Being poor isn't a free pass to be a thief, I replied coldly. There are thousands of scholarship students at this school who work 2 jobs, study until dawn, and don't steal from their roommates. You didn't steal bread to feed your siblings. You stole my money to get $360 acrylic nails, so you could play a VIP on television. Nadine let out a frustrated scream and grabbed a heavy textbook from her desk, hurling it at me. I stepped to the side, and it crashed into the closet door. Sloane jumped up. Nadine, stop. Are you crazy? Nadine whipped her head towards Sloane. Shut up. You drank the latte she bought. 2. You're just as bad. You just didn't have the guts to ask her for the card. Before Sloane could defend herself, a heavy, authoritative knock hit the door. Campus security and city police. Open up. Nadine stopped breathing. The duffel bag dropped from her hands, hitting the floor with a soft thud. I walked past her, unlocked the door, and pulled it open. 2 uniformed police officers stood in the hallway, accompanied by the stern-faced head of campus housing. Nadine Thorne? The lead officer asked, stepping into the room. No, she whimpered, backing away until she hit her bed frame. No, please. Lydia, tell them it was a misunderstanding. I'll pay you back. I'll get a job. Please, if I get arrested, I lose my scholarship. You should have thought about that before you tried to have my graduation revoked, I said, my voice completely devoid of sympathy. The officers moved in. Nadine Thorne, you are under arrest on suspicion of identity theft and credit fraud. Turn around and place your hands behind your back. As the cold steel of the handcuffs clicked around her wrists, right over those expensive, glittering ombre nails, Nadine finally broke down into real, agonizing sobs. Not the performative tears she used to manipulate the dean. These were the tears of someone who realized the real world didn't care about her victim complex. They led her out of the room, down the hallway. I could hear the whispers and camera shutters of dozens of students watching her perp walk down the corridor. Sloane sat on her bed, trembling. She looked at me, terrified. Lydia, I'll Venmo you for the lattes right now, she stammered, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. I didn't smile. I just looked at her. Make sure you include a tip. The fallout over the next 2 weeks was swift and brutal. The university, desperate to salvage its reputation after the mayor publicly condemned the administration, initiated a massive internal investigation. It didn't take long for the board to uncover exactly why Dean Miller was so obsessed with making Nadine the inspirational representative. It turned out, Dean Miller had been mismanaging a prominent alumni fund, designated for low-income students. He had been funneling portions of the grant money into administrative retreats and personal expenses. He needed a poster child, a loud, visible, hyper-successful poor student, to parade in front of the city and the board to justify the program's existence and hide his financial Discrepancies. Nadine, with her tragic backstory and willingness to play the part, had been the perfect pawn. When Nadine went to him crying about me, he panicked. He couldn't afford for his star PR project to be exposed as a petty thief, because it would draw scrutiny to her file, and by extension his ledger. Dean Miller was fired instantly, stripped of his pension, and faced a pending embezzlement investigation by the state attorney's office. The last time I saw him, he was carrying a brown cardboard box to his sedan, looking 20 years older, while a campus security guard watched him to ensure he didn't steal any university property. Nadine was expelled. The police didn't drop the charges. Given her status as a first-time offender, her public defender managed to negotiate the felony down to a misdemeanor, but the damage was done. She was slapped with heavy fines, community service, and a permanent criminal record that would flag her on every background check for the rest of her life. She was forced to pack her things and move back to the rural town she had constantly complained about, her grand dreams of city prominence shattered by her own greed. As for me, the university president offered me a private, single-occupancy suite in the luxury upperclassmen dorms for the remainder of the year, free of charge, as a gesture of goodwill, and undoubtedly a bribe to stop me from suing the school for Miller's threats. I took it. On graduation day, the weather was perfect. The sun shone brightly over the manicured lawns of the university. I sat in the front row, wearing my honors cords, listening to the new interim dean deliver a painfully safe, generic speech about the future. My phone buzzed in my lap. It was a Venmo notification. Sloan sent you $15 for the coffees last semester. Have a great graduation. I smirked, accepted the payment, and locked my phone. When they called my name, I walked across the stage. I shook the president's hand, took my diploma, and looked out at the crowd. There were no fake tears, no dramatic speeches, no leeches pretending to be my friend. Just me, my degree, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing exactly what happens when someone mistakes my kindness for weakness. I stepped off the stage, completely unbothered, and walked into my future.